Okay, 2 reviews for the price of 1 today. So let's get started right away with what would have been the Super Mario Brothers of the TurboGrafx-16, a system that still exudes hardcore goodness. Unfortunately, I never had a TurboGrafx-16, and even though I was lucky enough to find this at a flea market, still haven't tracked down a working TurboGrafx-16. Thankfully, there's a low-cost alternative.
Again, this game tried to be for the TurboGrafx-16 what Mario was for the NES, and in many ways it succeeded. You got this goofy-looking guy hopping and bopping all over the place, a vibrant, colorful world in a fantastical prehistoric setting. It's not a complete rip-off of Mario. It's got plenty of its own elements and quirks. Instead of hitting blocks from below, you bounce on flowers to reveal power-ups and food, or use them as springboards. And of course, Bonk doesn't jump on his enemies, but smacks their bitch-ass faces with his huge, hard head. You can smack them with your head from above or below, or even deflect projectile attacks with your head. Yeah, I dare someone to try this in real life. Go scuba diving and try blocking a harpoon with your head. Watch what happens. Many have mentioned Bonk kinda looks like Charlie Brown. Big fucking whoop, as if Sonic didn't resemble Felix the Cat. But on top of that, when Bonk gobbles down some meat to power up, he looks like Calvin. After eating a small piece, Bonk now looks like some super deformed Dalai Lama, and after eating enough meat to become invincible, his total amount of melanin shoots up. Think Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson had a field day with this back then? No, why would they? Control for this game is nearly perfect. Tight and responsive, as any classic side-scroller should be. My one gripe with the controls is how hard it is to aim Bonk's dive-bombing head slam. The problem is, this is Bonk's strongest attack, and you'll need it to clear out enemies fast, especially bosses. This is why level 3's boss always gives me a hard time. Half the time, I hit his arms instead of that goddamn mind control helmet and take damage. Some regular enemies can be a bitch as well, like these tomahawk-chucking fucktards that are everywhere, and I absolutely hate those dragonflies. Ugh, your mother! Thankfully, one thing makes up for any such minor flaws. Because of how the TurboGrafx-16's controls had built-in turbo functionality, the game was designed to take advantage of them. This is the only way to travel, using Bonk's teeth to scale cliffs fast and practically fly by rapidly spinning. And since you get an extra life every 20,000 points or so, you can net plenty using the turbo to clean up bonus rounds that are everywhere. Come on, make it across, make it across, make it across. Ah, piss titties! Wait a minute, didn't that look familiar? Jesus fucking Christ, it's always looked like Super Metroid got the grapple beam idea from Castlevania 4 and wall jumping from Mega Man X. Don't tell me the space jump was ripped from this. The level design is simply superb. For one thing, there's a plethora of hidden goodies and bonus rooms to find, so a bit of exploration is usually rewarded. Plus there's the 2 flowers that'll give you a crystal heart to extend your life meter. They're not exactly hidden, but you do have to keep an eye out for them. There's 5 areas in all, and the environments come in all varieties, like the innards of a brontosaurus. But seriously, who'd eat a piece of meat soaking in someone else's digestive juices? As you might expect, the 5th and last area is the most grueling. You have to refight the first 4 bosses, and now we must be coming up in this King Drool guy and... What the hell is that?! It's like Gadget and Smurfette got merged in a transporter accident, and someone painted the whole thing pink! At any rate, now you're up against this piece of shit called T-Raptor Head, and once again, the trouble with the headbutt dive is painfully obvious. When you beat it, you find that thing is actually this Princess Zaw you were supposed to rescue in the first place. So now, you 2 step into this dinosaur skull that functions as a rocket and return Zaw to Moonland, some place that's a moon cut in half, with a palm tree sprouting from the core and has some red frowny face. I have no comment. And of course, as you come in for a landing, you're intercepted by the real final boss, the most unintuitive Bowser Koopa ripoff I've ever seen. And the rest of the game set itself apart from Mario so well. And the battle with Drool can be quite an ass load, thanks to how Bonk will almost always impale himself on his crown when rebounding from a diving strike. But keep at it, and said crown will fly off, then be returned to its rightful owner. By the way, someone still has to explain to me, how come Sonic being revived by a magic kiss from a human princess made everyone unglued, and yet Bonk's testicles dropped due to a kiss from this pink Loch Ness thing, and no one batted an eye back then? Disturbing interspecies innuendo aside, Bonk's Adventure is a sorely underappreciated 2D masterpiece. Again, here's a game that I first fired up 20 years after its release, and it totally sucked me in. If that's not proof of standing the test of time, I don't know what is. I give Bonk's Adventure a 9 out of 10.
Time to move on to our second review. A little something for the Genesis called Valis. So, you pop it in, you hit power, and then...
What the hell is this? Don't tell me it's some sick hentai snuff game and I'm playing as some purple-haired girl in a Japanese school uniform slashing up monsters and shit and... Oh, I get it now! It's just like with the box art from Mega Man. Since anime had yet to hit it big in America, the US box art was radically different. At least Valis' US art accurately portrays what's going on. Playing as a girl with a magic sword, slicing up shit... Okay, already we're on track. As my close friends know, I am a sucker for magical girl anime, so it's a shame this passed me by as a kid. My only complaint so far is how our main girl, Yuko, runs like a fucking three-toed sloth. Now, I wasn't expecting Samus Aran in her speed booster, but okay, maybe I was. You watch enough shoujo anime and you expect Olympic caliber shit from these hyperactive twats. Another thing that bogs everything down are these story cutscenes which drag on like the ones from Metal Gear Solid 4. Ugh, son of a bitch. After you sit through this one, Yuko will get the skimpy outfit seen on the cover, and guess what comes right after that? An ice level! An ice level where undead swordfish will randomly pop up to hack up balls of phlegm at you, no less. Again, I have no comment. Despite all that, I think most will get something out of this straightforward, arcadey gameplay. It's simply fun to run around and hack and slash and zap the living fuck out of everything. Oh, it's one of those banshee things from Avatar. Oh, I'm going to totally fuck up its shit. Plus, there's plenty of variety to the game. There's several sword power-ups to get, like a katana that'll fire in front and back of you once fully powered up, something that'll let you fling arrows with every sword slash, and this one that pretty much flings out mini-grenades. In many ways, Valis can feel more like a crazy-ass space shooter than a hack-and-slasher. And it's funny how I mentioned Mega Man earlier, because after you beat the bosses, you can then use your magic points to cast their spells. A flurry of ice shards, a protective ring of magma blobs, a duo of deadly cyclones, summoning thunder from on high. Oh yeah, at times it's like this girl's packing more heat than all the sailor sense she combined. To top it all off, some of the music is really badass, and really gets you in the mood to mow down everything. Plus there's some impressive detail for an early Genesis game, like seeing moving clouds reflected in these Arctic waters. Some big problems do keep Valis from greatness, though. My biggest beef is controlling Yuko. It's simple enough. A is slide, B is attack, C is jump, and up and B casts your magic, but the control is kinda stiff. And the way you need to hit up and C to jump higher, it's really problematic in areas with lots of platforming. Oh, motherfucker, don't tell me I'm gonna... all the way to the bottom?! Oh, and remember the AVGN's rant about the gap in Ninja Turtles you just walk over? I'll go you one better. To safely get past some gaps, you can slide over them. There's another thing I dare someone to try in real life. Slide over a lava pit. The other problem is how ridiculously easy the game is. It's not a long game to begin with, and when your sword's powered up, you can pretty much annihilate everything in your path. Plus, the game's way too generous with health and magic refills. Half the time you'll come across them and not even need them. On top of that, there's hidden power-ups everywhere, including a health refill where you fight the final fucking boss. Look at this shit. I'm trying my hardest to evade this goddamn harpy bitch, and failing epically. Even so, I still end up owning her bitch ass. Only two bosses pose any real threat. First there's this Leviathan-looking motherfucker, whose attacks are nigh impossible to dodge, plus its summon lightning will almost always hit you. Then of course there's the obligatory schoolgirl rival becomes Dark Servant routine. Like most of the other bosses, Reiko's pattern becomes second nature after a while, but the death spell she conjures up once she's on the ropes will always hit, so you better reach her with plenty of life. All things considered, however, Valis is worth a look. It spawned 3 sequels and, from what I understand, a cult following. So down the line, hopefully just like with Bonk, all of Yuko's outings and maybe a brand new game will be available on Virtual Console. As for the original, I give it a 7.5 out of 10.